Go. All right. Well, Don, do you want to do a more thorough intro of Dave, or is there, in terms of background or anything? Or did he already sign off?
I think Don is not with us. So
Okay.
if Dave, if you don't mind introducing yourself, that might be best.
Sure.
Yeah, I
No trouble at
apologize.
all.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thanks everybody for having me. It's exciting to see BoulderNet still in operation, but again, also, unfortunately, there's a need for BoulderNet. I would love to see BoulderNet turn into just a community of employed people who are networking for better jobs than for getting a job. That would be fantastic. I'm Dave Collins. I founder of the in-person BoulderNet meetings. Actually, back in 2009, February 5th was our first meeting. BoulderNet originally started, from my understanding and from my recollection, as just an online meeting group, just before video meetings and such. And what happened was everybody got a job, fully employed, and it just kind of sat idle for a year or two, maybe more. And then when we started having the big tech layoffs in Northern Colorado in the 2008 timeframe, then the net groups started picking up, and a lot of chatter about we should get back together, on and on and on. And so then I just grabbed the bull by the horns and said, I'll do it. And I think that was at about 10:45 one night. And I was just as frustrated as everyone else with nobody taking action. So here we are. Our first meeting actually was at Glacier Ice Cream back on February 5th. I think I moved away from Colorado about 4 years ago. And so I'm still trying to remember all the street names and stuff. It's funny how your memory fades pretty quick, but I think that was Arapahoe and Foothills is where Glacier Ice Cream is. And I expected about maybe 15 people, and 45 showed up. So we had to push lots and lots of tables together. The Glacier folks were pretty happy because everybody bought a cup of coffee or an ice cream cone afterward. So that was kind of the deal. If you could, please support the business. We were there for I want to say maybe 2 months, and then we just got so big we had to find somewhere else. And Jeremy Kornreich was one of our searchers, and I believe he was the one who got us into Mountain View Church, just around the corner from there. And the meetings were at Mountain View for years and years, beyond I think maybe until the pandemic.
Yeah, we were there until April of 2020, whenever the pandemic
2020,
hit.
yeah.
Whenever.
And so that was where everything really gelled. I'm just looking at my phone. I got some notes here, and it was the old put a buck in the pot for coffee, and as a thank you to the church for giving us this space for free. So we ended up actually with all those big layoffs, because all the California companies were closing their Colorado branches because of the terrible economy at the time, and a lot of the big tech companies were just laying off people. We actually had about 80 people a week at meetings, and of 400 or so on the roster. So there were a lot of people out of work, and that was just our little group. Long's Peak Net, No Code Net, all these groups were growing like crazy because people were all trying to find jobs. And it was a wonderful resource and a great way to meet people and to find folks that you could connect with, because everybody knew somebody. And as we went, we needed to create some committees. So just like you have here, a handful of folks said, hey, I'll volunteer, I'll be on a membership committee, I'll help find speakers, I'll help set up, clean up, that kind of stuff. And so that really made things go smoothly. And we were meeting every week at that point for those few years. As time went on, Gordon Gray showed up and offered his support along with the YWCA, and that worked out fantastically well. I actually had found full-time employment. I was working a few jobs and doing some private consulting work at the time. And then he took over. Lots of other folks came in. I know Don has been a big part of BoulderNet for a long, long time. Trent, this is the first time I think we've got to meet. And
Right.
Harry and Amy, thank you both very much for stepping up as well. When we were doing the meetings, you know, similar format, we just had everybody sitting at the round tables like you had before. And that format I actually plagiarized from a group in California when I lived out there. That was their format, was everybody sit at the tables, everybody talk to each other, share what you're looking for, have a speaker, stick around after, make connections, find time to meet, and then go on your way. And so I thought that was a phenomenal formula. It worked great for me out there. And I just took that and created the weekly BoulderNets doing that. One nice thing, and that's a big change between this and back then, was the opportunity, like Emil and Lisa, you guys could just chat after the meeting, go grab a cup of coffee, whatever. Hopefully you guys will connect really quickly and share all that good information. But that was one of the fun things as well. So most folks would block out the morning, and then they might meet somebody and go for a coffee or something afterward. With guest speakers, we had folks coming in from outside like you do now, different professionals, politicians, community leaders, professional career people, but we also had group members, and that was something that was really invaluable. Members of the group who shared their expertise in marketing, human resources, sales. I did a couple of talks on using sales skills for job seeking skills. We had folks from Toastmasters come in. I highly recommend Toastmasters for anybody. It's so inexpensive. It's like, I think my group was $50 a year, but it helps you learn to speak well and give you a lot of confidence when you're talking to folks. But some of the talks that still stick in my head, we had Liz Ryan. I don't know if everybody knows Liz, the big career coach. She's on LinkedIn, but she spoke twice with our group. She was a local person, but she would pull in over 100 people for her meeting because everybody could read her in the Daily Camera or Fortune magazine or such. And I still to this day remember her line, you're going to submit your resume into the black hole, and that's it. And you're not going to hear a peep. And that was always the biggest frustration, was you can't just send out resumes and hope that you're going to hear something. You know, even if it's a posted job, it just goes into the computer reads it. Back then was newer, but it scanned your resume. If you had the keywords they were looking for, enough of them, but not too many, you had to figure out their algorithm, and then you might get a response back. Or you just get a thanks for sending in your application. We'll let you know if we move forward with you. And that was it. And still today that happens. Some of the other key things that I know have helped me were the star stories. I'm hoping you guys still talk about star stories, because I still see those being used by HR and interview teams. You know, tell me a time when. Those lovely questions. And I think the biggest thing is come up, like they say, come up with 4 or 5 scenarios where you have your situation of what happened, the tactics that you used, the actions that you took, and the results that you gave. So one of our members was ended up in HR at Ball Aerospace, and she gave us that talk, and she gave us the peek behind the curtain, and she showed us the scorecard with an S, a T, an A, and an R, and a box underneath it. And they would fill in as you're doing your interview. They would look for you to answer that question specifically with specific responses to fill each box. And if you filled each box, you'd move through the process. If you were unspecific, if you couldn't get numbers or names, that would be a little ding, is what she said. So she said, come up with 4 or 5 stories. You can use them for 25 different questions, and then keep formatting from there. So that was, I think, probably a tremendous talk that she gave. And then another was like Trent mentioning target companies. Come up with your list of just 20 companies, 10 or 20 companies you want to look at or you're interested in. And back then we would email the list out to our groups, to our friends. Hey, does anybody know anything about these companies or have any connections there? These are companies I'm looking at, instead of, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? So you want to, this talk was from my friend Kevin Stoffel. He was a consultant for hiring companies for hiring. And he said, this was his go-to for anybody, was write down that list, email it to everybody you know. Who do you know there? Do you have any connection? Do you have any information about them? And then you'd be able to give your contacts a reason to reply back that makes them feel good that they're helping you. And then you feel good because you're getting some information back. It's not just static. It's not just another quiet day of not moving forward, or not as much moving forward as you would like. So it's great to get that feedback from your family, friends, and connections. And so I'm glad that Trent, you ask folks to mention a target company or two that they're looking at, because that, I think, is a huge way for folks, because most people don't know, what do I know about that department? I'm an engineer, I'm in sales, I'm in accounting. I don't know anything about the engineering group, so instead of, oh, I know that company. So I thought that was a tremendous thing. Lastly, on the meeting touch, when you got a job, you brought donuts. And I don't know if that continued or not, but somebody you'd make an announcement, they'd show up with donuts, we'd wish them well and pray to God we never saw them again, at the meeting anyway. But that was just something fun that we did as a little thing. And so lots of people over time brought a lot of donuts, and it gave everybody hope, gave everybody another boost. We gave that person 5 minutes to talk about what they're going to be doing, what they went through, how long they were looking, so that everybody didn't have that feeling of it's just me, and that, I think, is the biggest thing in looking for work, is that just keeping a positive attitude. My fiance a couple years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic, got laid off. Her first time ever having lost a job. And, just like everybody, it's like, why me? Why did they pick me and not them? Why did I get let go? Why did I get released? And whenever that happens, you really never get a real answer, because the companies aren't going to give you that answer, because they can't. However they do it, if it's spreadsheets, if it's numbers, if it's whatever, seniority, who knows? They're not going to tell you. But the thing to do really is just say, okay, that happened. Hopefully it's the first time, hopefully it's the last time, but just know that you gotta just be okay with not having a specific reason why that you can do anything about, except my number got picked. That was it. And continuing on that thought, I think a big thing now, like obviously, Emil and Lisa, I keep pointing to you too, but learning new skills, like this is a fantastic time. Like you don't have to work. So you got a whole day free, or you have time in your calendar. It's really the procrastinator's nightmare, because now you have the time to learn some new skills. Like me, I think I've been using Excel for 30 years. Still don't know how to use it. I'm teaching myself pivot tables. I mean, I'm 57 and I don't know how to do those. I can add a column, and that was really all I needed, because everything else was in the CRM system for numbers and all that kind of stuff. But just honing your skills, learning some new skills. I hear folks talking about AI. That's a great big thing. But just spend a little time learning. So when somebody says, so what are you doing besides job searching? You can say something, you know, what it could even be a hobby, you know, if you wanted to learn to paint or play the piano or guitar or start that book. You've got some time, and exercising, tremendous time to just even get out and walk. Just get out. I mean, you guys live in Colorado. I moved to Rhode Island, and it's beautiful here, but it's different than out west. Today it's I think 90 with 80% humidity. It's a broiler, but you know, you've got the mountains right there at your doorstep. Sunny skies most every day. So even just getting out for a walk, clear your head, it's a perfect thing to do. And it really helps keep you upbeat and motivated. Because again, if you're at home, like we're gonna log off this meeting, and then it's like, okay, I better figure out something to do, because it's real easy just to sit and mope. And it's tough if you're alone. And so I think that's what's great about BoulderNet and groups like that is you have other people out there. There are other people you can connect with, other people you can meet with, other people you can talk to. And that is really, really important. I will say, having done job searches last year and a couple years before, it seems very similar to 15, 20 years ago with the old, apply for the job, send in your information, you don't hear anything, you try to call somebody, you can't find anybody, that kind of thing. But now I see, we have things like Zoom and Teams and all these online meetings where you can work for pretty much any company anywhere. So don't limit yourself to location if you can do a remote job. I've been working hybrid for a while and I love it. A couple of days at home, couple of days in the office. But my interviews were all on Zoom. I never saw the office. I met the CEO and the chief revenue officer a couple of times online. That was it. My first day of seeing anybody else was my first day at work. First day seeing the office was my first day of work. I knew where they were in downtown Boston, but that was about it. So it's very, very different now, I think, because you have to create that presence online and in person. So, again, getting some exercise, doing some good things for you, for yourself, really get that feeling boosted up so that when you are talking to somebody on camera, they can feel your personality coming through. And I think that's just such a huge difference than before, because everyone's done telephone interviews, and then usually from there it was a second, and then you'd meet somebody, and then you'd have 2 or 3 in-persons, and then you'd get the job, hopefully. But now it's let's jump on a Zoom, quick, done, face to face, and then you're off and running, hopefully. Talked a little bit about, obviously learning new skills. I love to call it YouTube University. My God, you can find anything on there. Anything you'd ever want to learn, how to fix your car. I mean, you name it. But really, it's a perfect time to learn new skills, explore other opportunities, other career paths. I know lots of folks have taken the Myers-Briggs and the skills tests and things like that. And really, if you have that information, I encourage you to look through it and see where else you might use your skills besides what you did just previously. It's easier, or it's easiest to get a job doing what you're doing. But if there's something that really intrigues you, I say be curious and go for it. Keep your avenues open. There was an article that came out, I think today, I was reading it this morning, the ADP employment numbers, and 200 million jobs, I think it was, I'm sorry, 200,000, there's only 300 million people. 200,000 jobs were with companies under 50 people. So some of those folks you're not gonna see online, or you might see them on Craigslist looking for somebody. They may not be on LinkedIn, they may not be on Indeed, they may not have an official job posting, but they're out there looking. They're looking for good people. So definitely think that is a under thought of opportunity, is looking around your town, the couple of towns around you. What are some of the smaller companies in those business parks that are out there, and seeing if there's something that might work well. The other thing that is really quite a bit different now than 10, 15 years ago is the gig economy and folks having side hustles. You know, it blows my mind when companies say, we can't find anybody to hire. You know, the past year or so, I've been selling to manufacturing companies, and they're like, we can't find anybody. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough folks on the line. We can't find anybody. And I just think, like, the days of the old part-time jobs, they're not gone, but I think so many people have different opportunities in terms of, you know, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, affiliate marketing, things like that, where they can build a business on their time, on their schedule, where they don't have to show up at a certain place at a certain time. And I think that's hurt a little bit of employment. But again, there's companies out there looking to hire, and it may not be in something or the industry you're primary, but secondary industry it could be. So again, look at everything around there, you know. I'm just reading my notes here. I'm just catching up on my things. But I would say, you know, the biggest things, again, just keep the faith. You know, that's the toughest thing. I mean, I've been in sales my whole career, and it's always 90% no, 10% yes. And you just have to keep picking yourself up and going every day. And it's the same thing in looking for work. You're only looking for one sale when you're job hunting, and that's to get a job. And I would say, you know, you just have to have that belief that it's there, because it is. But the perseverance, you know, it's a wonderful character building exercise. It's heartbreaking. It's a roller coaster, because you'll go on interviews and you won't get them, but you think you did. Others, you'll move forward for a while. I can't tell you how many times I came in second. It hurts so much. Putting together a plan for a company, you know, here's the 90-day plan for the team, and it's me and two other guys or two other people, and then you don't get it, and you put your guts and your heart into it, and you're thinking, oh, that was great, and then they pick somebody else, and then it's like, oh, all right, well, what's the mindset? Okay, well, that wasn't the right opportunity. There's another one coming along, and then you just got to keep that feeling, even though it's hard. But you know, I climbed a lot of 14ers when I lived out west, and there were a lot of false summits. So you'd come walking up and you're like, oh, there's the top. And then you get there and it's like, nope, there's another down and another up. And you'd keep going. And it's just one foot in front of the other. Take your time, you'll get there. And just know that it's going to happen. But again, you know, the be curious and learn some new skills. It's stuff, it's like what you can talk about when you're on an interview, you know. And again, taking the time to take care of yourself is so important, because it is a very stressful time. You know, losing work, finding work, and moving, I think, are some of the three most stressful times of your life. And really making sure you take some time to take good care of yourself. Again, get out in the sun, get some exercise, read some books, learn a new skill. It's easy to just sit in front of the computer and fire off resumes and applications through Indeed or ZipRecruiter or whatever. But it's the work that counts. It's, are you busy or are you productive? You're going to be productive by talking to other people in BoulderNet. You're going to be productive reaching out to find people on LinkedIn, which is a tremendous resource. Especially, God, for salespeople, it's awesome. I can find almost anybody in any company, and I can find out who they are. You know, a long time ago, you didn't have that. And so for job searchers, job seekers, same thing. Use that to find those people in the companies, and just call them up, send them a message. All they're going to say is no, or they're not going to respond, or you're going to get a response. All right. And everybody knows somebody who's been in your position, and everybody has a bit of empathy and a bit of understanding as to what's going on. And I think that is so important, to just make sure you're doing some productive work every day, or plan a schedule. You know, if you're just going to do it 3 days a week, great. Take the other 2 off, whatever. You know, just get good with yourself on what your plan is. And again, always like Trent said, follow up. Never let a lead go, because that one name could be the one person, which is so true. You never know. It's going to a lot of times just come out of left field and be like, oh, that's the one. And then you're working, and somebody says, how'd you find that? Oh, well, I was having this conversation with this guy, and then blah, blah, blah. And then they mentioned this, and then I looked into it, and there it was. So that's the crux of it. And I gotta say, I'm really happy that this group is continuing on. But again, I'm also, you know, sad that folks have lost their work. And every week when I was sitting in the basement of that church, I was hoping nobody would show up, except me and maybe the speaker. But you know, again, the networking aspect. I've stayed in touch with a lot of folks through BoulderNet, met a lot of people through BoulderNet. I encourage everybody to just reach out to each other, because you never know who they know. And last little thing, you know, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever that thing is. It's not just the person you're talking to, it's who their spouse or sweetheart knows. It's their connections. It's those levels beyond. And that's where you find the magic. That's where it multiplies. But it all takes picking up a phone or sending a message and saying to somebody, hey, can we talk for a couple minutes? And it's hard to do the first couple of times, but afterward it gets pretty easy. And so I would encourage you all, just persevere and keep on keeping on. And you know, what was it? You can't build a house with one brick. It takes a whole lot of bricks. So it's going to take some good messaging to reach the right people. And I highly encourage all of you to just connect with each other, stay in touch, and share some ideas, because you just never know who you know. So happy to answer any questions you may all have. And that's the end of my notes.
Hey, Dave, this is Don. I'm driving and I have to sign off in a minute, but that was fantastic. I'm so glad you came today, and thank you for starting the group. For such good advice. I think it resonated with. I almost wish I was job searching, but thanks.
Never
very
too late
much.
to start.
Let's stay in touch, and I'll pass it off to Trent.
Thanks, Don. Thank you again for the invite.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Yeah, a lot of it very much resonated with me. I mean, in terms of the continuing to learn stuff, definitely like the Workforce Center, like you talked about Excel, right? And so when I was out, you know, they had Excel classes that I took, right? And you can actually get a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in terms of keeping care of your own well-being, quite often we have seminars that aren't about the mechanics of job seeking, but about, you know, maintaining your emotional well-being and, you know, that kind of stuff. So anyway, but yeah, other thoughts from other participants.
Hi,
Go,
this is Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you very much. I was wondering about the California group, because as you were talking, I was recalling when I was soon out of college, I went to a California group in Oakland called Experience Unlimited, which was very similar, but back then.
I know the group.
Well, interestingly enough, I started, I didn't get the job, immediate job from that group, but I did stay in touch. And about a year later, somebody from that group landed with an aviation company and brought me along, and I had like 20 years of aviation experience based on that connection. Actually, he was the president. I think I was the treasurer of that group at one point. So you really do never know. And that was, I mean, that was a lot of my career, was aviation. So by chance, through that group and through staying in touch with somebody from that group. So it's amazing who you can meet.
Yeah, definitely. And again, the idea for how to run the meeting came out of that little, I lived in San Ramon, just on the other side of the hills, and worked in the Bay Area for 10 years and then moved to Colorado for 16. But I'm still in touch with a couple of people from that group over the long period of time. But you're right, it is making the connections in the group. And a great way to get a little bit more exposure is to volunteer. People see your face, see your name, they get to know you a little better. They may feel a little easier to reach out. But then also it gives you something else to talk about. Like, what'd you do? Oh, I learned this, I learned that. I volunteered with this group, and also again, we were shy of speakers back then because there weren't a lot of career coaches. I know I saw Don Strankowski's name come up in one of the emails, because I still get the BoulderNet emails. He was one of our speakers. We had panel groups with career coaches and with recruiters and such. But again, the big impact was for the folks in the group to give a presentation, because they got to share the behind the curtain. They get to share some of their knowledge that they have, that other folks got to learn from. I mean, I learned a tremendous amount being at BoulderNet every week.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, you mentioned volunteering. That's one of the things we definitely recommend. I mean, just it gets you out of the house. It helps widen your network, right? I mean, there's that old expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but really it's also who knows you, right? So that's right. One of the big benefits of doing those informational interviews. But by going out and volunteering, that tends to get you interacting with a whole new group of people. And it's also that law of reciprocity, right? The more you give, the more you get, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, volunteering with new groups of people gives you an opportunity to just interact with people. And what are you about, and why are you here? And you happen to be between jobs right now. I get the opportunity to volunteer because right now I'm between jobs. And really, what kind of work are you looking for? Oh, my brother-in-law works there, or my brother-in-law does that, or whatever, right? It's just, yeah, exactly. It's a magnifying amplification sort of opportunity. So yeah, we highly recommend that. So
and I know pre-pandemic there were lots and lots of in-person groups meeting at different places throughout the Boulder area, in all different industries or company sizes. I worked for a lot of small companies, a couple of startups, and we'd go to the green economy meeting or the what was it? But anyway, you get the point. And there are lots of those, and you can just go as a guest and get to see who's there and meet some other folks. We did a lot of meetup groups. There's lots of things to go and do and meet people that way. And you can find things you're interested in doing, and there's people out there doing it, and you can go make some new friends too.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the trauma of the layoff. One of the things I can speak to in terms of people feeling like the why me, right? And one of the things I can speak to is I wore a lot of hats in my career, but one of them was HR. And I've been in the meeting in a aerospace company of 25. And I've been in those meetings where it was, oh crap, we can't make payroll. And what do we do about it, right? And that, oh crap, we're going to have to do layoffs, right? And it's not about, hey, you know, Joe or Jane or whatever is not a valuable team member, right? It's really how do we survive, right? How do we not go out of business and have to lay everyone off, right?
Right.
So you know, it's the, you know, in order to survive as a business, we have to retain certain skill sets, and therefore we're going to have to sacrifice Joe or Jane or whatever, not because Joe or Jane is not a truly valuable person, but someone has to go, right? And so, you know, if you're feeling like, you know, why me? It's not that you're not a valuable person, it's that, you know, for the company's survival, unfortunately, your skill set was the least needed for the company's survival in the short term. So if that helps mitigate your feelings of, you know, devaluedness, if that's a word, you know, it's, yeah, your skills are incredibly valuable, you know, which is demonstrated by the fact that you were there for a key team member for all the years that you were there, right? So anyway.
But I'll tell you, it is tough, and it is, you never get a real answer, especially in a bigger company. It's you know, you get a phone call.
Sure. Yeah.
Smaller
Oh, no,
company. I know, I'm just saying, but yes, it's tremendously difficult to run and maintain and keep a business going. I mean, the statistics are really against starting a business, even though it's the best thing you can do. And then when you bring other people on, now it's, you know, as one employer I worked for, who was a owner operator of the company, he said, yeah, Friday's payday for you guys, but it's payout day for me. And I got to make sure I have enough money to pay me after I pay you guys. So, you know, it's the other side that a lot of people don't understand, is the view from the owner or the view from leadership of how do we keep this going? But you know, it's tough when you're the one.
right, sure.
And,
No, I've also received that
yeah.
same phone call from that same company. Yeah. So yeah.
Trent, we need you to let yourself go.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions or reactions for Dave?
Hey, Emil.
Hey, this is not related to Dave, but thank you for your presentation. What I wanted to say was, Trent, when you brought up Toastmasters earlier, I've been involved with Toastmasters for over a decade, and I belong to a club called Solar Speak. We meet in Broomfield.
Oh yeah.
Thursdays at 7. I sent a link in. We have a Zoom link as well, so you can attend their Zoom. We welcome guests. I would encourage and invite everyone to come check it out. Toastmasters has helped me immeasurably with many things, and I think that anyone can get a lot out of it. So come check out our club, come see what it's about, and see if it's something that would interest you.
I got a little insider Toastmaster comment from Emil. How many ums did I say? Because I know you're counting if you're in Toastmasters.
I am not taking on counter today.
Thank you.
That role has been filled. Don't worry. You did great. I thought
Again, I highly recommend joining Toastmasters. There's, I think, 150 groups in Metro Denver, if not more. I was in Talking Ideas that met Tuesdays at noon in Westminster. There's clubs in Boulder that meet in the morning or midday or an evening. They meet once a month, twice a month, every other week, every week. You can find exactly what you're looking for. You can learn leadership skills. The biggest thing, you can learn to stand up in front of a group and speak off the cuff and sound intelligent and gather your thoughts when someone says, so Trent, why don't you tell us about what your group is doing today? You know, if you're in a corporate boardroom or at a company meeting or something like that, and they call on you off the cuff, it's those kind of things that are fantastic to learn. But again, public speaking and death are the two biggest fears of folks in that order. And you can alleviate the first one.
Right. Fantastic. Any other, I mean, we're at time. Any other last questions or comments for Dave? All right, then we should let Dave go. Dave, thank you very, very much, both for your time
My
today,
pleasure.
but also really for starting the BoulderNet community process. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm grateful to all of you for being involved, especially Gordon. I know had some. I got to reach out to him. But you know, recommend the group to others definitely. And again, I wish you all the best in your job search. If there's anything I can do to help you out, please let me know. I'm on LinkedIn. Don has my information. I'm also still part of the group, even though I'm on the other side of the coast. So. Thanks
Well,
again very much, and I wish you all the best. Fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the networks are global, right? I mean, so yeah, I mean, geography in the interconnected world doesn't matter. So yeah, fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we're going to officially kind of close the meeting, but you know, everyone that wants to, you know, hang on, you know, going to open networking. So just, you know, hang on. And then one thing I do want to point out, in that folks can save the chat. If you click on the ellipsis at the bottom of the chat, you can save the chat to the to your local drive. I'm going to stop the recording.